Hey, how's it going, guys? So from the last video, we learned how to export a channel's playlist videos content to an Excel spreadsheet using Pandas library. In this video, I want to do something very similar, except that we're going to export the playlist videos content to a Google spreadsheet. Alright, so here's the result. And I was playing around with the Python script I wrote using my channel's playlists. And my channel actually has quite many playlists. And one of the benefits using Google Spreadsheets to store the YouTube channel playlist content is that for one, you're hosting the information on the cloud. For two, apparently Google Spreadsheet doesn't have the limitation on what characters you can use or what characters you cannot use when it comes to naming the worksheet tab. Alright, so let me do this. I'm going to create a brand new spreadsheet. I'm going to go into my demo.py file. So this piece of code is actually coming from the tutorial from my previous video. I'm going to take the same functions, such as convert duration function, retrieve playlists function, and retrieve playlist items function. Eventually, I'm going to organize the code a little bit to store everything in a class. Alright, so here let me do this. This time I want to write my script just a little bit more organized. So here I'm going to create a class. I'm going to name this class Google Sheets. And let me increase the fonts. Alright, so inside this Google Sheets class, I'm going to insert my client secret file. API name. And for Google Sheets, it's going to be Sheets. API version. And scopes. For the Google Sheets scopes, I'm going to use the spreadsheet's scope. It's going to be www.googleapis.com/auth/spreadsheets. Alright, so inside my constructor, I'm going to insert a parameter called sheet ID. I'm going to set the sheet ID default to empty string. Inside the constructor, I want to create my attributes. So I'll create my service instance attribute is equals to none. For the sheet ID attribute, I'm going to make this as a private attribute. So I'm going to insert underscore sheet ID is equals to sheet ID argument. And the reason being is I want to create a Google Sheet ID property. I'll convert Google Sheet ID as a property object. And it's going to return the Sheet ID attribute. And this should be self.sheetid property. Alright, so once I convert this Google Sheets ID function or method as a property, now I can use the setter or deleter to manage how I want to handle different actions. Alright, so I'm going to take the Google Sheet ID property .setter. And this is going to fire when we assign the sheet ID, Google Sheet ID, basically, to this Google Sheet ID property. And the value is going to be here. It's going to be return self.underscore sheet ID. And for the deleter, here I don't want to delete the property. I just want to reassign the value. So this is going to be self._sheet_id is equals to empty string. And the other thing I want to use this class for is I want to save all the settings such as the Google Sheets service connection. I also want to simplify some of the things that I do, such as add sheets, delete sheets, and some other things. So here I'll create a function called add sheet. And this function is going to be used basically to create a new tab in our Google Sheets. I'm going to set the sheet name default to none. So in case if we don't provide a worksheet name, then Google Sheets API is going to use their default name. But here I want to insert a if condition. So I'm going to check first of all if the self.service is not empty. And if this condition is true, then I want to print a message: Google Sheets service is not available. I also want to check another condition against the sheet ID. We know if this condition is met, then the Google Sheets ID is not available. So here we can say that Google Sheets ID is not available. I want to exit the function when either of this condition is met. If both conditions fail, then we can go ahead and add the new worksheet. So here I'm going to insert a try except block. And it's going to be exceptions. Actually, exception. Let's see. I want to print the error message. And I will return the value as none. Inside the try block, here we need to create a request body JSON representation. So we need to insert the requests property. It's going to be a list. And because I'm only intend to add one sheet at a time, so I'm going to insert one set of dictionary. So inside the dictionary, we're going to insert the add sheet property. And since we want to provide the option for a user to change the worksheet name, inside the add sheet property, we're going to add another property called properties. And then we can insert the title property. And it's going to be the tab name. Alright, so that's the JSON representation we need to provide when we make the API code. Now we're going to make the API code by referencing the self.service object.spreadsheets.batch update. And here we need to type .sql. Alright, so inside the batch update method, we need to provide the spreadsheet ID. And it's going to be coming from _sheet ID attribute. And for the body, it's going to be coming from request body object. Then I want to return the response. And I just realized that I forgot to do one thing. So here I forgot to create my method to initialize the Google Sheets API service. So here I'm going to code this method, initialize service. And insert a try except block. Right. Here I'm going to create my service instance. I'll create my create service function, followed by the required properties. So we need to insert the client secret file, API name, API version, and scopes. And for the exception, this is going to be exception. Let's see. I want to print the error message. I also want to return the value as none. Alright, so here noticing that I'm not returning anything, I'm just creating the service instance inside the class. So that way we can store the service instance inside the class whenever we need to reference these objects. The last method is the insert records method. So I'll name this method insert records set. And we're going to be able to provide a worksheet name and the record set. Alright, so here I'm going to check against the service instance. If the service is not available, then I want to print the message Google Sheets service is not available. Then I want to return none. Otherwise, we can insert the records. So again, we need to create our JSON representation. Inside the dictionary or JSON record, we need to specify the major dimension. And it's going to be rows. And values is going to be the records that you want to insert to your Google spreadsheets. And it's going to be coming from records argument. We can now make the API code to insert the records. Alright, so here I'm going to reference the self.service object.spreadsheets.values. And I want to use the append method. And this should be a method as well. That execute. Alright, so inside the append method, we need to provide the spreadsheet ID. And here, let's do this. Let's just use the Google Sheets ID property. So it's just another way that you can get the value. And for the value input option, and it's going to be user entered. And for the range, so range is where you want to insert the record set. And want to insert a variable placeholder, and it's going to be worksheet name. And want to insert the record on cell range A1. Let me take a look. Oh, this should be alright. And to insert the records, we need to insert the body parameter. Is equals to request body. Right, so that's it for creating the Google Sheets class. Now let me grab the code from my previous video. Right, so here we are basically iterating a channel's playlists. And this will extract the video's content from a playlist. Then we're going to create a video's tuple. And I also comment out the description just because the text string is too long. I don't want to insert the description. Right, so now let's go to the top. Actually, not the top. Let's go back to the main function. And here we'll create a parameter called channel ID. And this will be channel ID argument. Here, let me indent all the code. If this validation is true, then we're going to exit out the function. We're not going to do anything further. Otherwise, we want to insert the records. Actually, we want to insert this rows object to our Google spreadsheets. Let me see. So here, let me create my Google Sheets class instance. And I need to provide my Google Sheets ID. So name this as Google, lowercase, Google Sheets ID. And we go back to my spreadsheet here. I'll grab the Google Sheets ID. And I will send that to the Google Sheets ID variable. So here from the GS object, the Google Sheet ID, and we can assign the Google Sheets ID variable. Now I want to initialize the Google Sheets API service creation. And when we run this method, we're saving the service instance inside the GS object. Now go down to the button. Inside the loop, and I forgot the close parenthesis. Here, all my records are stored inside the rows object. And I want to append the columns header to my rows object. So to do that, I can reference the rows object insert next list. So I can use the insert method and to insert the columns record, giving the index position. I also want to grab the playlist title, and this is going to be the worksheet name. So I'll name this as sheet title is equals to playlist underscore title. Do I have that? Let me see. Oh, right here. Actually, let me do that. I don't need to create sheet title variable. I can directly assign playlist title variable as my worksheet name. So here I want to insert a new worksheet. So from gs.addSheet, I want to save the output as gs sheet. Inside the addSheet method, we're going to assign the worksheet name using the playlist title. And here I want to print message exporting playlist followed by the playlist name. And it should be ... 4 pairs. Format playlist title. Then I can insert the records. So gs.insert records, actually record set. It will provide the worksheet name. It's going to be playlist title. And the rows object. Actually, I don't think I need these. So I don't need the GS sheets object. And that should be it. Right, let's try it out. So here, let me comment out. Here, I will leave the Google Sheets ID here. In theory, this should be an argument. Here, let's make that argument. So we'll provide channel ID and Google Sheets ID. And I'll put this outside the main function. All right, so let's grab a channel. Let's go to youtube.com. I want to use tag channel. Let's take a look. I hope they don't have that many playlists. Let me grab the channel ID. And we'll call the main function. And this will, okay. And this will be channel ID and Google Sheet ID. All right, so let's run the script by pressing F5. I need to authenticate my account. Alright, so here we have an error. Return. So the Google Sheets class is not able to locate the sheet ID variable. Oh, here. Alright, let's try again. Since the token file is already created, it should be much faster this time. So, oh, I see, okay. So this should be a value assignment. So we're not going to return anything. So self.sheet ID is going to be equals to sheet ID argument. Now let's give it a try again. Alright, so we have another error. So I accidentally insert an extra parenthesis. Alright, so here I'm not liking the error, but let's take a look. Oh, okay. So, this should be API name. So that was the issue. But here, let's fix something. Alright, so me rerun the script. Okay, so now we're getting the message exporting playlist followed by the playlist name. Right, so here I'm going to interrupt the execution because I think there are way too many playlists belong to the tag channel. I also notice that I'm getting the 429 error, and this error is due to rate limit exceed. So what we need to do to fix that issue is we need to import the time module. This error is most likely due to I'm sending way too many requests per minute. So here if we examine the description, yeah, so here's the message, write requests per minute per user of service. So that's basically an indication that I exceed the request limit per minute. So we need to delay the execution. So here, let's do this. So at the end, I'm going to delay the next execution by 1 second. So time.sleep, and we're going to delay by 1 second. I'm not going to run the script again since I know based on all the output message that the script is working successfully. But if I go back to my spreadsheet and I should expect quite many playlists. Let's go to one of the playlists. Alright, so here if we go to TED Talks from the Countdown Global Launch. And from this playlist, we have 27 videos. And these are the video information, such as the view count, like count, dislike count, video title, duration, video ID, and a couple other things. So this is everything I want to share in this video. And hopefully you guys found the video useful. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys on the next video.